It's Bickles and welcome back to Dead by Daylight. In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think is the best build for the Wraith, along with another really fun but not consistent build, and a few extra tips and tricks. I'd like to start off by saying I just did a series where I played the Wraith, getting him to rank 1 and learning the secrets of how to play him. So make sure to check those videos out. Now without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. With the Wraith, there are many ways to play, but if you're here, you've probably heard this many times before. Hit and run is his most powerful way to play. When playing a hit and run Wraith, you do just that. You get a quick hit by either uncloaking behind a wall or body blocking them somewhere they have to take a hit, and then cloak back up, drop chase, and take a look at generators or hit another survivor, and then rinse and repeat. As far as builds go, I think this one is the best by far. Scourge Hook Pain Resonance to get passive gen regression when hooking, Jolt to get passive regression when getting downs, Hex Rune to get passive regression after pushing survivors off and to give the build time to pop off, and finally Surveillance. That way, anytime you get regression from the other perks, you get intel on where the survivors are. For add-ons, I would suggest Windstorm Blood to move 9% faster when cloaked. This helps with map traversal, and I'd also suggest the Ghost Soot. This suppresses your terror radius and red stain for another 6 seconds after uncloaking. This helps a lot in chase because survivors don't know where you are in strong loops like Killer Shack or LT walls. The reason I think this is the best build is because as soon as you get it down, more likely than not, you're going to know exactly where everybody is, or most people, so you know exactly where you need to go. And if you get a Scourge Hook, that's just going to help you even further along with that, all due to Surveillance. I believe at this point Surveillance is a very underrated, very slept on perk. Now, on to the next build. Now this build I think is a lot of fun, but like I said earlier, is not very consistent. It runs on 2 hexes, so it can be really good or really bad, but I like to call it the Quick Down Wraith. Alright, for the perks, Hex Blood Favor. Anytime you injure or down a survivor, all pallets in a 24-meter radius are blocked by the entity for 20 seconds, allowing you to avoid a pallet humper. Hex Crowd Control. Anytime a survivor fast salts a window, it is blocked by the entity. This renders strong loops like 2 window and Killer Shacks fairly useless. Save the best for last for quicker recovery after a basic attack. This is good at stopping survivors from getting extra distance, allowing for quick downs. And Jolt to get passive regression on gens that are close to you when you get a down. For add-ons, I would suggest the Ghost Soot to suppress your terror radius and red stain after uncloaking, and either the Bone Clapper or Coxcomb Clapper, both of which make it hard for a survivor to tell where you are when uncloaking. Overall, all the perks and add-ons for this build will allow you to get a quick hit, and if you can get a quick hit, you could also get a really quick down. It's a lot of fun, give it a try, and now we're going to move on to our tips and tricks. Tip number 1, practice pushing survivors into an empty part of the map, aka an area where you've already gotten rid of a lot of pallets. Tip number 2, drop chase when a survivor leads you to a strong loop like Killer Shack or a 2-window loop unless you have already created a lot of pressure, like having everybody injured or have gotten rid of loops in the area. Tip number 3, practice identifying safe versus not safe pallets. This is a type of safe pallet where the survivor can run you around a few times and then drop the pallet. Immediately break the pallet because most likely you cannot mind game and get a hit or a down here. But this on the other hand is a not safe pallet because the survivor almost always has to preemptively throw it, and you can beat them to both sides if they decide to stay or volt. Tip number 4, don't be afraid to drop chase often. Tip number 5, avoid any unnecessary camera movements because it tends to throw survivors off. Tip number 6, recloak often and try to get in front of the survivor you've been in chase with, because most of the time this will make them either run back to an area where there's an unsafe pallet or a loop they've already spent, and if they choose to continue forward, it will result in a body block with a free hit. Tip number 7, pay close attention to what areas of the map you've already cleared of pallets so that you know where to push a survivor. Tip number 8, uncloak out of sight if trying to get a hit while they are working on a gen. Tip number 9, both the Bone Clapper and the Ghost Soot add-ons are very underrated and very useful. Tip number 10, remember you control the direction of chase. So always push a survivor in a way that they will have to take a medium volt instead of a fast volt. That's all I've got for today's video, so make sure to go ahead and check out those other videos I'd said on the Wraith. And after rank reset, I will be starting the process of doing the same thing on the Hillbilly, and there will be a tips and tricks video out for him as well. Now, once again, if there's anything you'd like to see in the future, make sure to let me know in the comments, and if you liked today's video, make sure to leave a like and sub, and I'll see you in the next one.